Now, the Jewish people thrived in Jerusalem under King David and King Solomon, but the kingdom soon became corrupt with idol worship and all sorts of evil behavior taking hold. And the consequences were severe. In 586 BC, the Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar destroyed Jerusalem and burnt the first temple to the ground. But some very important remnants from that period still remain today, and we had an exclusive opportunity to see them up close. Take a look.
You can see right here the letters in ancient Hebrew that mention the name of the official who owned this seal. And this seal would have been on his ring. You can see the hole running through. And he would have stamped those pieces of clay with his name. Now I want to show you.
2,600-year-old. This is the original from 2,600 years ago, Joe.
That's right. That's
unbelievable. Right. First Temple period times, perhaps King Hezekiah sometime around that period, and you're holding it in your hand right here.
That's right.
Amazing.
Okay, now I want to show you one of the actual sealings, those pieces of clay with the names. It doesn't really look like much, and that's why we need to use wet sieving to find it. But this is the name of a different official who stamped a letter in order to seal it. And the name is quite interesting because it mentions Le-Achiav, to Achiav, Ben, the son of Menachem. And if we
all on this little seal, it says.
All on that little seal in ancient Hebrew. And if we take a look at those names, well, Menachem we know is one of the kings of Israel. And Achiav isn't known from the Bible, but the name Achav, which has the same meaning, is known from the Bible. It's the same name, and Achav, Ahab, of course.
The infamous King Ahab, of course.
Exactly. Not a very well-loved individual in the eyes of the Bible.
For sure.
But apparently, people were still naming their children with that name, as we see on this seal. Now, a couple of other things I mentioned before. First of all, we said that they weren't very good at keeping to the laws.
No, they were not.
So let me show you something that I think really puts that into perspective.
Of course. Yeah, and when you talk about that sieving, Joe, just so people know, it's very tedious work, I guess you would say. There's mounds of ancient soil and dirt you're going through by hand, but man, you're finding some real gems, stuff like you have in your hand right now.
Exactly. You see the little idol here. It's basically a little figurine or a little idol made of bone of a woman with very, very delicately made. First of all, if we put the biblical prohibition aside, I mean, the workmanship on this is incredible.
Intricate. And this is a pagan deity, a pagan goddess.
Exactly. And if I go back to the workmanship, I want to show you something else that exhibits the amazing workmanship of the period.
Some of the people in Judah at that time, sadly, were probably worshiping similar deities to the Babylonians. The destruction of the first temple was not the end of the story. The Jewish people eventually returned from exile and rebuilt the temple in Jerusalem. And after the break, Pastor John Hagee joins us on an actual road that Jesus walked 2,000 years ago on his way up to the Second Temple. Folks, you won't want to miss this. Don't move.